Good evening, everyone. My name is Brian Grimkowski. I'm one of the assistant directors here in the Graduate Admissions Office at William Paterson University. First and foremost, I want to thank all of you so much for taking the time out of your schedule to be here with us this evening. This is a relatively new format for us to be able to offer webinars, info sessions about some of our programs here at William Paterson in the Office of Graduate Studies. It's been exciting for us because it's a great opportunity to reach out to students, whether it's from the comfort of your couch, whether you're at work, wherever you may find yourself and can seat yourself in front of a computer. It's our hope that this is much more convenient perhaps than coming to campus, but certainly if you do like what you hear, if you want to learn more about our program, if you want the chance to speak with the program director in person, we'd love for you to come out to our open house in the spring, but we are a couple weeks away from that, so obviously this is a good opportunity to get started. I'm joined here by Dr. Gordon Schmidt, who's the program director. He's going to be speaking at length about the program in just a moment, but I just wanted to make sure for all of us here at the Grad Admissions Office that we had the opportunity to thank you personally for taking time to join us this evening. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Gordon. So Gordon, take it away.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Gordon Schmidt from the Department of Kinesiology. What you probably see in front of you is our first slide that talks about the Department of Kinesiology. We have 4 undergraduate programs, so if you're not sure whether you're qualified for the graduate, you probably should speak with us and we'll qualify whether you are ready to come into the program or not. In the graduate studies area, we have one degree called the Master of Science, Exercise and Sports Studies. That particular program, though, has 3 disciplines. If you just want to come in and study towards your master's, then there's a general studies, and I'll describe each one as we go through. The second one is exercise physiology. That's a concentration that you take 5 courses, and I'll again describe that a little bit later. The third one is sport pedagogy, and those are for those who have undergraduate degrees in physical education. The next slide is sort of an anecdote that we use to talk to people about what the programs involve. If you are in the field of exercise physiology, then you would be working in the arena of fitness and rehabilitation. If you are general studies, then you might study something that would be of your own interest. We can tailor the program around your specific needs, and there are some core courses we'll talk about in a moment. The third area is dealing with physical education. So if you are interested in getting a higher level certification, we offer the supervisor's certificate in schools, and that allows you to supervise within a department, and sometimes, you may not know this, but you are allowed to do a supervisor in an area that is not related to physical education, for instance, English or history, and that's where the principal or the superintendent can place you. So today our agenda is going to be that I would like to welcome you and thank you very much for coming online and taking some of the time, as Brian explained earlier. I'll go through each one of the programs and talk about them at greater lengths. Hopefully I'll answer as many questions as possible. As Brian said, if you want to type your questions into the chat box, you're welcome to do that. I want to spend a little bit of time with the question that I get the most is, what do I do with my degree? What type of careers and pathways can I take? I've spent a little bit of time preparing some testimonials from students, both past and present, and then we'll have our question and answer period. With that in mind, I'm going to start with the anecdote. So here, if you look on the left, you see a very nice picture of 3 of our graduates, all within the last 2 years. Valerie was our graduate assistant. She came to us from our undergraduate program. She lives in Clifton and she works at the YMCA locally. As a fitness director, one of her jobs was to coordinate. It's a little bit higher than the undergrads who work in the field, but she's the one who comes in and runs the program. She's at the assistant level right now, and as she's learning more and more, she's putting more towards her own development. What's an interesting part about our undergrad is that when you're graduated from our undergrad and the master's program, then you can teach at a university. So we looked very carefully at our staffing, and we needed 1 new instructor, so we've hired her for next semester. She's excited. We're excited to have her. And she has the experience from being a graduate assistant, which means we know how she works, and it's a career path for her. The one on the top, Steve, he's got a very interesting story. He came from the biology department, And people ask me often, what happens when someone comes from another area? Are they allowed to switch into our major? This is very unique because our program was designed around people who may not have the same backgrounds. So we want to give you a more general overview, and then we make you take prerequisite courses. And again, I'll go over those in a moment. And Steve, when he comes from biology, he did come into our master's program after taking the prerequisites, and he worked with one of our colleagues, Dr. Racine Emmons. And Dr. Emmons was working at the VA Center before she joined us. So as someone who worked in the field, it was very appropriate for him to get mixed up with her, and they did some research together, and he ended up going to the VA. What he does is spinal cord injury rehabilitation. Now, he's not a physical therapist. He would like to pursue a PhD, and what he's done with his career since he's left here, just within the last year, is he's developing research projects with the VA for people who have never walked before. He uses an exoskeleton type of a model where he puts people that are paraplegics into this device where they're allowed to stand up. One of the stories he tells us is that one lady who had been in the bed for 14 years had not gotten out of her bed. She got up using one of the machines and went over and made herself a cup of coffee. So kudos to that area. So the second area then of research is something that's different from the fitness field. Mike is a very interesting story. He started in the music department, got his music degree, got a philosophy degree undergrad, and then got our exercise science undergraduate degree, 3 undergraduate degrees at William Paterson. He's a lifelong learner, more power to him. So when he graduated with our exercise physiology master's degree, he decided that he was going to take a year presently, and go to China and teach whatever they presented to him. He's a very energetic young man, so we wish him all the luck that he can get as he works overseas. We'll start now with the admission requirements. In order to get into our program, we prefer that you have a major in the domains of kinesiology, and those could include exercise science, human performance, kinesiology, physical education, or the equivalent. And once you have applied, if you have those credentials, then we will process your application, and again, Christina, who's online, and Brian, who can help with this, would ask, well, are you qualified? Now, as I mentioned with the earlier student, Steve, he was not qualified because he had not done all of the courses in our major. Most people who do come in, though, they would have some form of some of the courses, but if they have none, these are the courses that are listed as prerequisites. You would have to take an anatomy and physiology class, but only the first one. Biomechanics, which has a physics prerequisite, special physical education, and the prerequisite for that is anatomy, physiology of exercise, which is the foundation of our courses, and chemistry is prerequisite for that, and then motor learning. So this motor learning class is the connection between the brain and the hands, just to let you know about that. If you're coming into the pedagogy area, then you would have to take our movement education course. Our current standard for admission is a 2.75, and our dean is pressing us to move that up to a 3.0, so we hope that you are well prepared when you come here. I like to teach by anecdotes. So what I've displayed here are 4 separate pictures that give you a little bit of an overview of some of the things that we do. Top left, you'll see that we have a Velotron bike, and right beside it a Monarch bike, and behind the lady on the cycle is our computer that's working the technology. So this Velotron is about $8,000 bike, and it measures anaerobic performance. On the right picture, you'll see one of our colleagues who teaches in the graduate program, Dr. Jason Wicke. And in front of him are 2 children who are going to be tested on a jump and reach, just a vertical jump test. So you start by measuring their initial height, and then they jump up and knock over the number of bands that they can while the professor is watching to make sure technology is administered correctly. Bottom left is one of our students. She comes from India, Niraja, and she's also in the right-hand picture to give you a face view of her. She's testing someone using the sit and reach, which is a measure of flexibility, low body extensibility. And then on the right-hand side, we show Tim Carpenter, and these people have given us permission to use their names. These are in some of our brochures, and Tim comes from as a vet to us. He did our undergrad and our grad, and now he's working as a police officer and has his own facility for training people outside of his own first job. The other person behind him, Bob Boutot, is actually an athletic trainer. He came to us with a graduate assistantship that we provided from our athletics department. We offer 2 graduate assistantships in athletics, but they have to be to people who have a background in athletic training. We will be hiring 2 new ones for the fall intake. The deadline for that is April 1st, just to keep you apprised of that. The other Valerie was a graduate assistant, and we hire 1 for our department, and Valerie finished with that when we have a new one this year, and we will be hiring again for the new GA for the next fall, 2006. A lot of people ask about, do I have to do my GREs? Well, the requirement for the university is yes, you do. We expect a verbal score of 150, a quantitative score of 150 for the exercise physiology people, and if you decide to do the Miller's analogy test, that test is actually administered at William Paterson. So you can do your GREs outside of William Paterson. They're mainly done online. You have to register through online. Other people can, if you want to, the website to that, we can help you find that place. If you are a foreign language speaker, we require a foreign language test, so that probably doesn't pertain to most of you, but if you have questions, feel free to type them in the box. For those students who come from William Paterson and you have a 3.0 GPA, we will waive your GRE requirement. That's something new, and we're very proud that people have been waived of that. Saves them a little bit of time. But if you're planning to do a doctorate program later in your future, you probably will be required to do the GREs. The personal essay is something that we have as a writing sample. So in 250 to 500 words, basically 1 to 2 pages, we would like you to talk about yourself. And isn't that a great thing to do, talk about yourselves? The first paragraph, I'd like you to say, well, who are you? Basically, do you have a background in exercise science? What's your first degree? Where do you come from? Are you local? Are you out of state? That type of thing. Tell us about you. Second paragraph, what do you want to study? So since we have different disciplines within our major, and we maybe even plan to expand into sports psych, or we were talking about doctoral programs down the road, but what's your goal for studying? Third question is, why William Paterson University? You have other choices, obviously, and we would like to know, well, what's special about William Paterson that suits you? Maybe you like the professors, you've met with us, you like the smaller classes that we offer, the one-on-one, you like me, and you can say anything you want. The fourth paragraph is what type of personal circumstance pertains to you. For instance, you might tend to come only part-time, 1 class per semester, 2 classes per semester. Normal full-time load would be 3 classes per semester, so tell us what you want to know about you. Maybe you have work commitments. Most of our classes are in the evenings. We begin about 5 and end about 7:30, 7:40. There are 1 or 2 classes that we do offer daytime. For instance, this year on Wednesday, spring semester, we have a class in advanced physiology that will be offered at 2 o'clock. That's the normal circumstance, and mainly we just check with the students to say, what are you available to take? We have online classes. All the sport pedagogy classes are online. I'll mention that in a little while. The exercise physiology, we have 1 online class that's going on now, and I'll explain more about that. I have a slide on that one later on. Regarding references, we do require 2 professional references, and we would like 1 to be from a professor. Sometimes you've been out of school for a while, and we recognize you might not have the contacts, but if you are missing that contact, then maybe you can contact me, and I'll help you decide, who's the best person to use as a referee. If it's just your teacher from elementary school, they might like you, but they may not be able to give us the insight that we want into you. Sometimes a phone call can suffice as an interview. So if you call us and ask some questions, we can find out, what your special needs are. But if we have to ask you to come in, or if you're coming for an interview for a graduate assistantship, then we'd like to show you around the building and see if it really is a compatible match between you and our university. Research is a very strong component within our program. People may not realize that we have lots of venues. I put up a slide from a research project that we did in Badwater, California. Just below it, this little mountain range here, you can see that this was a desert at one point, and it's a desert now, but it was an ocean rather at one point. And this is below sea level. So we were tracking some people as they ran along the road for 72 hours. As they were running, they went from below sea level to about 7,000 feet above sea level. We had them swallow a thermoregulatory pill And as they ran through the very high heat, we were monitoring their core temperature. What was interesting about this project was that the people who lost control over the thermoregulation had to stop early. We could actually tell when they were going to stop. So the type of research we do is not localized to our area. I'll show you some more research as we go through this presentation. As we talk about the sport pedagogy area, I mentioned earlier what people do with that, but we would like to have a copy of your teaching certificate before we register you. As I mentioned also, there's a supervisory endorsement. Now that would require that you take 2 of the courses which traditionally would be your electives. So you're giving up your 2 electives in order to take the 2 courses from the College of Education. I've listed them there for you, which is the curriculum design class and the supervision and evaluation. You would also have to have your principal sign that you've been teaching 3 full years, but this could be done simultaneously with your current degree. So if you are in physical education and you want to get your master's degree in sport pedagogy and you're just beginning your teaching career, well, you might wait the full 3 years before you get your supervisor's certificate, but you'd have to be teaching full-time. Again, if you have questions, feel free to ask as we go along. I mentioned Valerie, so I threw in this slide to show her presenting something at a conference. It was called the Mid-Atlantic Regional Conference, MARC, of the American Colleges of Sports Medicine, ACSM. Now, Valerie, as I said, graduated 2 years ago, and she's the one that we're rehiring. She did this, it was a class study, and it's called Phosphate Decrement in Repeated Sprintability. So just prior to this presentation, you can see there are posters throughout the room. There are 2 behind her and 2 beside her, and the room was actually filled with posters. And she came up to me and says, Dr. Schmidt, 1 over from me, not the 1 over, the 2 over from me, there was a man there, and he's presenting his PhD doctorate on repeated sprintability. What do I do? And I said, well, Valerie, this was a class project, and yours is probably just as strong as his doctorate. So be proud of what you've done. And that's a little anecdote to show that our students do go out and they do presentations and they get recognition, so we guide you through that. Each one of our courses sort of has a target innovation for it. Now, I'll share that with you a little bit as we go throughout this presentation. These are the courses you'd need to take. There are 36 credits, total of 10 courses, and well, choice of a thesis or a non-thesis. So let's go through them in order. The introduction, you learn about research. You learn how to put together a research paper in the proper format, how to read research, and even how to put together a thesis, even though you don't have to write it. We would like you to write a substantial amount, and our instructor helps guide you through that whole process. Second course in the second semester, so they go 1 course now, the 501, and then the second one, 502, would be spring semester. You learn about the design and statistics. Now, don't fear statistics. I teach it. In the first class, I usually give people a lottery ticket and sort of make them learn how to do numbers through a fun way of doing it. So no promises for when you take the class with me, but we have fun in that class. The third class is the seminar, and that is tied in with your thesis. So it's a fair amount of work to keep you on track with the timelines that are required to finish your thesis in about a year. So I'll come back to that one in a moment. The exercise physiology concentration then has 5 courses, and we've tried to round them out based on the ability of each instructor to deliver something beyond the undergrad. If you are online tonight because you're taking our undergrad program, then you would know some of the instructors. So I'll go through them with you as I talk about each one individually. In the spring semester, we're doing the Advanced Physiology Principles of Performance. In that class, there'll be a lot of talking, discussions, seminars beyond what you have done in your advanced class, or, by the way, that one could be substituted for a class you might be taking now. So we do take an undergrad class, and we could substitute that for a grad class if you decide to do that. Definitely pursue that with me on a one-to-one basis. The Applied Nutrition class we just had last spring, and that's done with Dr. Emmons. You design your own nutritional program, and you try to live that for a certain number of days. You may have heard of certain diets, Mediterranean diet, the just to name one, the grapefruit diet, the egg diet. There are tons of diets that are out there. So if you know one that you want to pursue and try it yourself or with a family member, then this would be the time to do that, and learning the mechanisms that go with the exercise and performance. The third one, cardiovascular physiology and metabolic diseases, forms 2 branches. The cardiac rehab and the elite performance in cardiovascular physiology. How do you train people aerobically to get to their elite performance, as well as those people who may have had a heart condition, a myocardial infarction, some kind of bypass, anything that's related to the cardiovascular system. We brought in a medical doctor to teach that last semester, an internist, and I co-taught it with the elite, and we had another person, Professor Pat Mahadi, who works in cardiac rehab as his main job daily. So we had 3 instructors teach that, a bang-up job to get that course done. Neuromuscular physiology looks at strength and conditioning. The design on that course is that you would work with research papers, discuss elements of strength, the neuromuscular system, and try to understand how you would train someone, not necessarily in a coaching way, but to get the best out of them for their elite performance. The physical activity and aging is the course we're currently doing online. It's the only one of this concentration that is done online, and it's done through the concepts of epidemiology. So if you're interested in studying about how did we form coronary risk factors, this would be the type of course that would really intrigue you. And as I mentioned, I will tell you a little bit about each one of the nuances of that, but I'm going to hold that one till a little bit later. I've got a separate slide on that. I'm going to group all these sport pedagogy classes together because you can see that they are 2 forms. One is a curriculum and the other is a supervision. So there are 3 classes with their curriculum in them and 2 classes with the word supervision in them. Those 4 classes then could be selected to take when you are applying for your supervisor certificate. We do have an initiative right now to try to get that to make it more interesting to the students. We've hired recently a professor, Mike Laughlin, who is a specialist in adapted phys ed. So he and I have been talking this semester about adding a new concentration on adapted physical education, which would lead to a certification called CAPE, so Certified Adapted Physical Education Teacher. The last one, human motor development, could be taken by people from both disciplines, the exercise physiology, because it deals with the growth and development of the lifespan, people throughout the lifespan. Traditionally in schools, it's the youth, pre-kindergarten, K through 12, and then for this course, when the exercise physiology people are in there, we do the adult, the middle age, and seniors. So you can write your projects to Professor Flores Marte on that discipline. He's got a background also in exercise physiology. The elective courses we have then applied kinesiology and biomechanics, very interesting for those who are interested in the physical therapy route. And then we have neural mechanisms in exercise and sport. Sorry for the formatting on that one. Psychology of sport, currently being taught by Professor Bob Simmons while our chair, Dr. Gill, is on a leave this semester. And then special topics we will be offering this particular semester coming up, and that's sort of like an independent study done with a group. So you'll find people with like interests and work in groups of 2, 3, 4, depends on who takes the course. Professor Wiki will be teaching that course, and we'll put people in those small groups to come up with your project. It might be done through a poster, a paper for submission to a journal, maybe just a meta-analysis. There are different things that you can do in that class. It's free and easy to do that one. Now we're going to talk about the practicums and the internship. So the practicum would be something where you go to a school and you're working with an in-service, maybe creating something for the teachers that are working with you, or it could be that you're working with the superintendent or the principal designing a project on your own. For the exercise physiology people who do an internship, we might put you with a site where they have elite training, and I'll explain that in a moment too. So I've got that slide I'm trying to get to. Finally, the thesis people will take a full year to write, or it could be faster if you're able to do that, a thesis which comprises 6 chapters and a fairly well-documented research project. With that in mind, I'm just going to show you a little bit of the social time. So here you'll see 2 of our new graduates this year on the right-hand side. One on the left-hand side is graduating this year, hopefully by May, and 2 undergrads who are thinking to come to William Paterson to study their graduate program. So as we go through this one, I'm going to click on this one here and talk about that program I've been alluding to all day. So I'm going to blow this up to here. This is what I have my physical activity aging class do. So I've showing this to you over here, and they had to make up their own website. So when I click on this button with my website here, then they've created their own. So just go through them pretty quickly. You have access to this. They're public domain, so I don't need their permission. This is Jamie here, and she's developed her own website. She put some personal things in there. So we'll do TK. He's also an athletic trainer. He's a bit of a runner. He just got a job with the Jets, believe it or not. So I'm going to tell you some success stories as we go through this. Ryan, very interesting, came to us this year. He does parkour, so you can see that he's jumping from building to building, from railing to railing, and he's got his own video page here. He's got a fan page down here. So when they put themselves together, this can be used to promote themselves. Matt, he's our current grad assistant, and I said, Matt, you can decrease the size of your girlfriend on there, and he says, my girlfriend would never allow it. So that tells you a little bit about him and his current interests. The next one down is Andrew Moore. I'm going to skip that one. Andrea wasn't successful getting hers up, but I'm working with her to get that up this semester. So these were just put on here recently. Andrew has a CSCS already, Certified Strength and Conditioning Specialist, which is a certification we aim for to have our graduates complete. And he does weight training, so you can see that he's obviously in some form of a weight maneuver right now that he's trying to demonstrate for everybody, and he's working very hard to get through our program and doing very successfully with it. Bhavika is one of the ones from our overseas, and I'm going to switch over to Sahar. She came from India also. Bhavika had some trouble getting her website up since a class still in progress, but Sahar and Bhavika and Niraja all have come from India, so we're very pleased that we have some diversity in our program. Orlando is a runner and elite trainer. He wants to pursue a doctorate. Just talk to me about that. Shondell came to us from, where was her university? Salem. And she's not at her major. She wants to get into PT, but she needs some courses to help her get into PT. So she wants to use these as prerequisites to show that she's capable of doing graduate work. So she decided to do this almost like a transition degree. Danielle did an internship in Colombia. So this is her working with one of the children that she was assigned to work with when she was in Colombia last spring. Cole wanted to be a NASA astronaut, and he's proud of me to tell this to you, but he's just been accepted to do an internship. He's finished all his courses, so in January he's going to work at Exos in California. So he's currently doing his internship in Sean Kelly Performance Center, and he will be moving over to Los Angeles in the spring semester to finish his internship over there. Danielle is one of our students who came to us this year, and she's pursuing her master's program with us, so she hasn't gotten to that stage. Now, within this website, you can see that there are some people that are some projects. So if you look at the project in cancer, for instance, they've put together their own website for the group. Another thing is they've put together the cancer each year that I've had this project. So this is the current project. It was due today. Their assignment is due today, so you can maybe be the judge of them. Don't tell the students in the class yet, but their final exam is to critique each other's websites. So if you know anybody in the class, tell them you just found out what their final exam question is. This one was put online last night, and I'm very proud of them because they actually did something where you can actually click through different resources. So I didn't show them that. They did that. They only had to do a one page, and see how resourceful these students were. I'm very proud of this group for doing that. Now, a quick overview of the people I mentioned earlier. This is for you to look at. The people who are doing internships right now are required to do a blog. It's sort of like a journal writing. So when you see that I've got Danielle's up here, I didn't preview this, so I'm hoping it comes up with the proper English. It might take a while to get this up, so apologies if it takes us a moment on that. All right, while that's going up, I'll see if I can get the other one up at the same time. Cole was the one that, again, that was coming up. No, his isn't coming up fast enough, so I'm not going to waste your time on that. All right, so we'll come. Oh, yes, there's Cole's. All right, so he talks about his activities he's going through at Sean Kelly. So he builds a. He posts. He's supposed to post weekly, and over the Thanksgiving break he might not have posted exactly weekly, but it talks about the things that he was doing and some of the lessons he was teaching, some of the exercise he was working with in the field. And again, these become very extensive blogs. So if you're wondering, what type of internships that you have, then those are some examples of it. Kieran's another one. Kieran did his at DeFranco's, and when he was there, one of the things I asked them to do is put together an annual training plan. So that's how he designed his, and he was graded on that. Here's some information about periodization. He put a lot of the information on here for people who were following him. He has quite an audience that was following him, and all the different things that he was doing. So some of the work that he was doing with the athletes, very elite performance people. I'll skip down a little bit here. So when you see, let's see, he went to Boston on a workshop, and he got an award for eating that hamburger. He liked it so much they went back the second day and did it a second time. So I'll let you look through that one. The last one I'd like to mention is Andrew. Andrew came to us from our undergrad program, having worked with the strength and conditioning program at William Paterson. He was the assistant football coach, the strength and conditioning head coach, actually. And this is Andrew on the right-hand side here, and he was the one who went out to Colorado Springs to work with the National Strength and Conditioning Association. They paid him $1,000 for his internship, and that paid for his food and accommodation when he was there. He went to different workshops when he was working out there and worked with the hockey team. So as you can see, this was his internship responsibilities when he was there. He was working with the athletes and giving them training programs, monitoring them one-on-one. This is what happened when he went there a couple of weeks into his stay. So anything could happen when you're on these internships, but it could have happened just as easily in New Jersey. So with that one, I'm going to skip to the next slide and talk about that. To get to that link, you just click on this one. We also have a web page, so I'll click on that and see if it comes up. It might not come so fast. Well, it did. Okay. No, I'm going to log off that just for a second and call this one up over here. Pull this over to here. Bear with me as I get my technology up and running. This is our web page, and often for students, we'll post jobs. Now, this is just a fun little thing. The men in the department grew beards over the month of November. We called it Movember, so we'll skip down a little bit and go to that. So disregard the comic aspect, but that's what we are. We have a lot of fun. This is a picture of me at the earlier stages of growth of our beards, so that was early November. But you'll see that there are some things about our teams, about alumni, different things that our students are posting. We try to post notifications if we know of jobs, and it's all about our undergrads. And we have some things when I see them, I put the job ads up there for people that are looking for things. So it's just it's a way to keep everybody posted on what's happening. So as we come back to our presentation for today, let's see, did I lose that? Here it is. All right. I'll skip to our last slide, and that's really how to contact me. What you'll see on the attachments, and Brian's going to mention that in a moment, is that there are two attachments specifically I want to address. One deals with careers in sports medicine, and this is more a general thing. A lot of people ask me about what do I do with my degree. So if you click on that and it calls up for you, it's a downloadable document. People become exercise scientists. They work in the field of instruction. They might become an athletic trainer. They become a biomechanist or cardiopulmonary rehab specialist, a dietitian, maybe taking more training or just assisting in companies. Fitness directors, exercise physiologists. With a master's degree, you truly could call yourself an exercise physiologist. There is an exam called the RCEP, Registry of Clinical Exercise Physiology, put on by ACSM, and you are being prepared to sit for that exam. Although it's not part of your curriculum, we can give you the extra 150 hours that you need beyond what our requirement is for the internship, and you can sit for that exam after 600 hours of practical experiences. People go on to physical therapy, they become researchers and teachers. The other document was put together as for careers in exercise sciences. It was a few years old now. Our program started only 6 years ago, and what this document talks about were potential jobs. And I had to put this together because the Senate, the Board of Trustees, were asking us, well, why would we have a master's degree? Well, the hottest jobs in that year, 2012, was teaching. And then just a little bit below that, the fastest growing fields are physician assistant, physical therapist assistant, fitness trainers. The top 5, we are 3 of the top 5 fastest growing fields. There are jobs. Right now I'm getting calls, they want more teachers in the field. So maybe if you're undergrad studying physical education, get out in the field and get a year or so of experience, and then come back to us when we have our programs fully involved. As you go through that, I've pulled together some job descriptions that come from the internet, and all of them have a master's degree requirement. Working with NCAA, working like the teams, working as trainers, working as supervisors, graduate assistantships. So that concludes my portion of the presentation. I hope you enjoyed what I talked to you about, and I'll turn it over to Brian.
Thank you very much, Gordon. We actually did have some questions come through during the presentation. For those who might still have some questions, as Gordon had mentioned before, you can just type it right in the chat box there. We'll address them one by one as they come through. The other thing, as Gordon mentioned, right under the Handouts tab there on GoToWebinar, you'll see that there are several different documents available to you, the ones that Gordon walked through, but also a copy of this PowerPoint presentation. So if you joined us a little bit later, you might have missed a couple of the earlier slides. Certainly feel free to download that at your convenience. That'll give you the opportunity to click back through and see what you might have missed. Also, some of the links that Gordon went through, as well as his contact information. So obviously that might be very useful in hindsight. So do keep that in mind as well. Gordon, one of the questions that came through, we actually have a current junior who's in attendance for the presentation, and they had two questions. First question was, can I become a certified phys ed teacher if I have a BA in exercise science?
If it's one of our students, the degree is going to be a BS, Bachelor of Science. If it's from outside William Paterson, then they do have the BA degree. So the proper approach would be to come in as a second undergraduate degree and complete the courses that you need to get the certification. Now, there are two routes. If you have as an exercise science student, you have some of the courses that are already designated for physical education. So if I talk as the second undergraduate degree, we might need more time than this seminar allows, the webinar allows. A course like exercise physiology, biomechanics, motor learning, those courses count towards the physical education degree. So if you're from our program, then you just have to take the certification courses, which are the professional sequence, which involves movement education, curriculum teaching, elementary and secondary, because it's K through 12 certification, and student teaching. You'd also have to take a total of 11 skills classes on the teaching of racket sports, team games, gymnastics, to name a few. There are quite a few courses that I just won't list at this point. Now, if it's a student from away from William Paterson, the degree is completed in exercise science, there's the whole other concept of alternate route. The state only, the Department of Education in Trenton, makes an assessment for alternate route. With an undergraduate degree, you would have to accumulate 30 credits in physical education and 15 in health in order to be qualified as a physical and health education teacher. If you are from outside the state and your GPA is above 3.0, then you would apply directly to the state. The better way to approach it would be to go to a school district and talk to the school board, the school superintendent, or a principal who can give you more information on what they would use to hire. The alternate route program, though, requires you come back to university, and during that period of time when you're at the university, then you would study curriculum, core content, assessments, how does the school system work, and you would have to be engaged or hired by a school in order to go the alternate route. There's just no program where you just take an alternate route and then get licensed and don't have a job. You have to find your own job. Now, the other way to do this, I mentioned there are two. One is the undergraduate, and alternate route is sort of not handled by our university, but we can talk to you more about that. Contact me and I'll maybe sit down with you and go over it in greater detail. But the master's degree, if you have an undergraduate degree, and let's say your GPA is 2.8, I'm just hypothetically saying that. If your GPA is not the 3.0 and you need that for teaching, then you can take this as a transition degree. And for those who may be listening, this also might help you with PT school. So you come in, and our minimum requirement for graduate studies is a 3.0. So immediately the GPA level is inflated. You have to have a 3.0. in order to continue in the program. If you don't, we're going to boot you out of here. So if you come through with a BA or a BS at the undergraduate level, we could accept you lower than 3.0. We would like you to do the GREs, and we would then see whether you're compatible with our program. Take a term, maybe non-degree, graduate non-degree the first semester, try it out, see if you can do the work required, and then if you do well, we'll matriculate you for the next semester, and then we would try to get you through these 10 courses in the thesis or the internship, and you would be a graduate. You could graduate with a master's degree. We have a student who just did that. I'll leave the names out, and that student is now applying to a school to get a job, and he would have to have all those 30 credits. And he would not have to do the student teaching because he would be going alternate routes. So the master's degree is equivalent to not equivalent to, but similar to the route you could take. Instead of lateraling in at an undergraduate degree, you might be able to go to the graduate. And again, it's too detailed for a webinar to get into all the details, so contact me. My number's still in front of you. My email is right there. Brian, there was a second question with that?
Yeah, also, in terms of the internships that your office becomes aware of, how are those shared with students? Is there a database that you keep, regular points of contact, and businesses and industry that you've developed a rapport with? How are students made aware of internship opportunities and the different choices that they might have?
That's a great question. It's actually sort of, if the student's from outside William Paterson, then it's a way for you to actually find out how do we get jobs. I see the hidden nuance here. But if you are from William Paterson, at the undergraduate level, we have 40 placement sites, and we place the student. We would place the student through our contact, Dr. Michael Figueroa. He's the program director for the exercise science. Now, he and I work together. I'm the acting chair, program director, as the former chair. He and I work very closely together. So for the undergrad, we assign you based on your interest. There are two ways, two placement types. One is cardiac rehab. We put you in a hospital or a clinic, and that sometimes cardiac rehab could be outside the university, at the hospital itself, so it could be working with a doctor's office. So it's the medical side. The other side then is the performance side. So we can put you with a corporation that we know that, like Becton Dickinson's a good example, BD they call it, and we have a former graduate there, and she would take interns, and you learn the corporate well-being side, working with apparently healthy individuals who work in an office. They might have a busy life, and they want to work out in the gym. That BD has 2 gyms, and a cafeteria right between the 2 of them, so it's a great site to work at. Or you might work in a gym. We find the placement based on your interest. At the graduate level, and by the way, undergraduate's 150 hours of practical experiences in the internship site. At the graduate level, it's 450 hours, and you find your own. Now, we will definitely help you. We don't publish it per se, but if you say that you want to work in elite performance, we might put you at DeFranco's, but you've got to be very good to work in that place, and you have to take a placement test with them to get into that place. So we just don't give those ones out willingly. There are some with the U.S. Olympic site. Cole did apply to the Lake Placid Olympic Training Site. We have connections around the country if you want to do that. And I forgot to mention during the webinar, but with the seminar, since you have to make physical presence, you have to be physically present for the seminar. We have Cam, who's working with DeFranco's, but Cam was the one who actually moved all of DeFranco's gym over to Austin, Texas, and he Skypes in every 2 weeks. So it's a seminar every 2 weeks all year long, and he's doing his thesis now because he can't do an internship where he is the supervisor and work basically for himself. So the thesis is something he's working on, and we do see him that way. So for the sites itself is you just have to talk with us. We're not going to publish a site specifically for people to draw from.
Okay, thank you very much. We have 2 other questions. One is what kind of graduate assistantships are available for students considering the program?
Okay, I'll address that now. I did mention it earlier, maybe you tuned in late. The deadline for applications is April 1st. The person that applies to it would apply to the people apply would apply simultaneously to the Graduate Studies Department, and you can do that through our graduate admissions, just go on to admissions and you'll see there's a graduate link. But the application for graduate assistantships has to go to the provost's office, and that's a single one-page sheet. You would be allowed to attach your CV to it. We look at those applications in April. And for our department, the kinesiology department, we predominantly use that person in the exercise physiology laboratory. Matt is our current GA, and he's finished his thesis this semester, so he will be leaving us. The contract goes for 10 months, which begins the beginning of September and goes through to the end of June. The person who gets that would be required to work 20 hours and is paid at the current rate $600 a month, and the fees are waived. The tuition fees. So the person who works with us for the 20 hours would be assigned times when we have our lab, and the person learns how to set up the equipment, the metabolic cart, the treadmills, the blood analyzers, and works with the professors on individual research projects. It's a great way to learn about the lab, and people coming out of this facility, out of this opportunity, really become stronger leaders. They actually learn how to teach. Like I said, we're hiring Valerie back after being our GA 2 years ago. So for people who are interested in the GA, our department has one. The graduate assistantship for athletic training, and I don't know if anybody here is from athletic training, we will be advertising in their magazines and trying to recruit more people to come in, and we hire 2. Those people are assigned the 20-hour duties, and it's a little bit more than that because it's actually like a lab type of situation. It's not like a lecture type of situation. So they work with a team. They would be assigned, for sake of argument, maybe a swim team, a volleyball team, one in the fall, one in the spring. They go on the trips with them. So our current GAs, TK and Jamie, have gone to, they will be going last year and this year, they will be going to Florida and I believe Texas, if I'm not wrong, for the baseball teams and softball teams. So they do the travel to work with the teams when they go on their winter break. So as I said, they have the same type of responsibility, the same salary, and the same tuition reimbursement.
And then
the first one. Second one?
Final question, are there summer courses available?
This is a very good question because a lot of students want to get an advanced standing. Sometimes they come in even before the term begins and they've been matriculated for the fall and they want to take a course early. So we would have to work with you and get you into a very specialized program for that. We traditionally don't have summer courses, but because there are 2 electives required, we would encourage the people to speak with me and see if we can get that one up and running. If we the courses for summer could be from another department. It could be from the public health, the nursing, the communications disorders, education, biology. As long as the person had the prerequisite to do that, then the person could take that as a summer course or even during the term time, an extra course. I'll expand on that question a little bit because that gets me to the thought about people who want to bring in credits from outside. So you are allowed to transfer courses. We have a student right now who came to us with 3 credits done, and you can transfer 2 courses, which is 6 credits. So we gave that person the opportunity to transfer those 3 credits in, and one of our current students, Cam, who's in Texas, he's 1 course shy of his exercise physiology concentration. So I said, can you take that course at the University of Texas in Austin? So he's investigating that, but I said, well, I know there's another university that has an online class, so with the proper authorities, my permission, I would let him take that course over another medium, and basically maybe online or through another college and transfer it back in. So that could be done summer, it could be during the term time, but it answers sort of both questions in the same breath.
Well, thank you so much for that, Gordon. For everyone who took the time to join us this evening, I just want to thank you so much on behalf of the Graduate Admissions Office and the Office of Exercise and Sports Studies. We can't thank you enough for your time. I know it's a little bit further out, but we are going to have a spring open house in late February, so certainly keep that in the back of your mind. There'll be more information about registering for that event and having the opportunity to speak with Gordon in person in a few short weeks. So for all of us here at William Paterson University, thank you so much. Don't be a stranger. We'd love to have you on campus to come and visit, answer any questions that you might have. I know Gordon would be more than happy to speak with you. His contact information is still up there. And again, thank all of you for joining us and have a wonderful evening.